Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. Today I thought I will take you on a little walk through the city of Kobe in the Kansai area in the heartland of Japan. Now Kobe is situated between the mountain range in the north. Mount Rokko is a prominent peak there, and the bay of Kansai. So Kansai is an area that is in the heartland of Japan. It's counted to Western Japan still, but I would say it's pretty much in the middle. The biggest city here is Osaka, and the other important cities are Kyoto in the north and Kobe to the west. I think Kobe is actually counted to the prefecture of Hyogo, but well, for me it is kind of one triangle here, Kobe, Osaka, Kyoto. And Kobe is an old port town. That means there are lots of foreign influences here. As you can see here, it's one of the big Chinatowns that you can find in Japan. The other one, to my knowledge, is in Nagasaki. That is, of course, also to the west of the country, very close to China, and also an important port town. You had very early on already Chinese immigrants here, and of course in this Chinatown everything looks a little bit like in China. You see the red and the different artwork, the different presentation on the buildings, and of course you get a lot of Chinese food here in Kobe and Chinatown. You can see, for example, steamed buns with pork in it, and also of course sesame balls and these Chinese sweets that you have. I will actually take a little tour here and then get some food myself. Maybe a little early for lunch, but I just want to eat something now. Yeah, so as you can see, maybe some people, some visitors from Europe or someone would think it is a little bit tacky, but I think it's kind of nice actually. They have their own little street. I think in San Francisco you also have this Chinatown, or in New York. I think it's kind of nice. People here speak actually Japanese, so even though they are Chinese, I think at least the people in the shop front, the owners, they speak Japanese. I don't know if they're ethnically Chinese or if they're just employees that are hired and Japanese actually. I don't really care that much actually, but there is a large Chinese population, and they're not just here in this clearly visible, maybe a little bit tacky touristy Chinatown, but they actually own a lot of land in Kobe. So they are landlords to many people who rent apartments here, and the Chinese are an integral part of Kobe society, I would say. And they also get a lot of new Chinese immigrants over, and they can then start working in the businesses that belong to the older Chinese residents here. So that means, of course, they have a real economic advantage being here for a long time already. They are the first employers or the first stations of contact of the new immigrants, and of course the labor force of these immigrants will be adding to the profits of the Chinese people who live here longer already. So that's a mechanism that you can actually find in many countries with many populations, but here in Kobe I think this is very clear. I just felt like taking you on this actually very sunny, nice day. So I'm finally getting some food. So this is a steamed bun with a thick slice of pork in between, just like a German loves it, I guess. And I got some sesame balls with that. Yeah, so I'm gonna eat that now. You can actually get so much more food, and it was really hard to decide, so I went for some wrapped duck and some dumplings here.
If you were wondering why it seemed so empty, I was here a little bit early so that I don't have to wait in line. Now you can see a little later it filled up quite dramatically, and there are large crowds of people here even on a work day. It's a Tuesday, I think. And once again here you can observe something that is so typical for Japan. In front of one store there is a huge line while other stores are hardly frequented. Well, they have customers, but not nearly as much as that one store that everyone wants to go to. Me personally, my strategy is normally, if I encounter that kind of situation, that I go to the less frequented stores that still look okay, and so I don't have to waste my entire day standing in line, but I get something that might not be the super 110% perfect item, but I still get a sample, a taste of the local cuisine. And I can see more things during that day then. That is, of course, a completely un-Japanese mindset. Okay, so Chinatown in Kobe is close to Motomachi Station, and a little bit east of that is actually Sannomiya Station. That is somewhat of a center in Kobe, and this is where all the big department stores and all the hip people are. And I actually just walked there. You don't have to take a train, it's very close, and this is where I take you next. As you can see, it is a very nice downtown area, very clean, and the specialty of Kobe, I would say, or at least the reputation of the people from Kobe, is that they're very oshare. That means they're very fashionable, very stylish. They might come across as a little bit snobbish, but that's just people from Kobe. They love their coffee, their bakeries, and their small stores with a long tradition. A little bit northwest of Sannomiya Station, there is the Ikuta Shrine, Ikuta Jinja. That is a very, very nice shrine, very close to the center of Kobe, but nevertheless it seems to be very quiet there. And as is often the case in Japan with these Shinto shrines, right next to it, or actually within it, there is a little shrine for Oinari-san, the shape-shifting fox god, originally the deity of rice, recently or nowadays actually also the deity of business. So if you have luck in the business world, you better say thanks to Oinari-san, or he can actually do some harm to you. Remember, he's a shapeshifter. He could be anybody and anything.
Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany. I want to take you today around Kobe Sannomiya Station. We are actually, or I am actually, at the moment right underneath the railroad tracks, and down here are some nice stores where people, for example, who commute from work, they can then here directly go into a little restaurant or into a little bar. You can see there are many bars, restaurants, izakayas here on my left side, just underneath these railroad tracks. And this is where sarariman, or people who work in Japanese companies, people who come home from work, or actually stopping by here before they go home, where they would have a beer or 5 and enjoy some fried chicken or some tofu or some other Japanese specialty. Beer here is fairly cheap for Japanese standards, that is, and of course you have your selection of nihonshu, what in English people refer to as sake, or shochu, which is basically distilled alcohol, so something that is close to vodka or rum or these things like that. So this is not really a red light district, this is really just bars, and adjacent to that there is the actual red light district with hotels that you can rent by the hour, and with live clubs and all that stuff. But here this is really more for a little after work snack, and it is normally pretty good food. It's worth its money. It's normal bar food with some beer. So I like these places actually. It's not haute cuisine, but at least you don't get ripped off normally if you know where you're going at least. So that's this little part of Kobe, and I wonder what I could show you guys next.
So I actually got a little hungry again, so I decided to go into one of these izakayas actually. And as you can see, the menu is basically written in kanji, of course, in Japanese. In some of these places you have an English menu. In some of these places you have a menu with a lot of pictures, and that helps foreigners already. You can just point and tell them with your fingers how many you want or something. But it really pays huge dividends in Japan if you can read those kanji names of your favorite dishes, at least. Like if you like a fish very much, just learn how that kanji looks like. A lot of it is also spelled in the phonetic alphabet katakana, and also in hiragana, so that's a little easier. But I'm not gonna lie to you, I cannot read the whole menu here, of course, but I know my favorite dishes, and that is already enough. So I had some tuna sashimi, some raw tuna, and some renkon, that is lotus root with mustard in that case, and some other nice dishes. It was a very good meal, and beer is also very good in Japan, I think, personally. So yeah, that was my dinner, and now I'm going back home again. So I hope you enjoyed this little tour around Kobe. That is basically a very nice destination. I think Kansai is a very good place to be as a foreigner. Osaka, Kobe, Kyoto, 3 very cool, very different cities, very close to each other. Public transport is excellent here. It is definitely worth a visit. One of my favorite areas in Japan, actually. Some of you guys might remember that I shot some videos in Kyoto before, because if you travel Japan, you just have to see Kyoto. There is no second city like that. Maybe Kamakura can compare a little bit to it, but not really. So Kyoto, in terms of Japanese culture, is the unrivaled #1 destination. Maybe if I go there again, you will see more about Kyoto in the
Servus, Kameraden.